see.
It spoke to me.
What did it say, Isaac? What did it say to you, Isaac? Isaac? Isaac, can you hear me?
Visceral was a great developer. Taken from us far too soon, rip in peace. Being struck down by an industry giant is a terrible way to go out. It's a real tearjerk of a story if you really sit down and think about it. Before everybody and their half-sister stepbrother knew who Isaac Clarke was, Visceral wasn't even called Visceral yet. That was back in '98, and at that point in time, they were still called EA Redwood Shores, and they were a budding rose of creative ingenuity in the industry. They were never actually acquired by EA like a number of studios currently under their wing. Redwood was part of EA from the start, being given that name when their parent company opened up their new headquarters in Redwood Shores, California. Unfortunately, that just makes the ending of the story that much more shitty. What I find ironic about all of this is that EA had gold in their pocket from the moment that studio opened until the very moment that it shut its doors for good. Yet the CEO of EA at the time of their closing, Andrew Wilson, claimed that the shutdown of Visceral was an economic decision and that they needed to pivot the design, quote-unquote, of an upcoming title. I'll come back to that bullshit at the end of this video, just you wait. Apparently from '98 to 2004, EA higher-ups weren't exactly super hot on the idea of Redwood developing its own IPs. If they had it their way, Redwood was going to stick to developing licensed tie-ins about movies and shit. But Redwood wasn't taking any of their garbage. See, they wanted to make another System Shock game, so Redwood Vice President Glenn Schofield had been harassing EA higher-ups about it day in and day out. They already had a plan set out for it and everything. And then Resident Evil 4 happened. The critical and commercial success of Resident Evil 4 must not be understated. To this day, horror games still borrow from it, and it changed the genre as a whole. But that's a topic for another video. If I start getting into how much of a revolutionary title Resident Evil was and how its launch in '96 forever changed the definition of atmosphere while simultaneously proving that you don't need fucking ray tracing and bloom to make a game good, I'd never actually start playing the game that this video is about. What's important here is that the release of Resident Evil 4 completely and totally altered Redwood's idea for a brand new System Shock game, and that mutated into something you might have heard of at least once or twice. It's a little thing called Dead Space, and it too would completely and totally change the horror genre, and after October 13th of 2008, future horror games would also pull from its influence as well. Rightfully so, seeing as it is considered to be one of the greatest video games ever created. So much so that it got two sequels. Dead Space 2 released on January 25th of 2011, and Dead Space 3 on February 5th of 2013. Normally I'd just start with the first game since it's a goddamn legend at this point, but EA Motive is working on a Dead Space remake that's supposed to be a lot like Resident Evil 2, and if they can get that right, then I won't blast them quite as bad over the shit that they pulled on Visceral. Keep in mind, that's a gigantic fucking if with massive quotation marks. I harbor no love for EA, they're still getting a tactical nuke at the end of this video, there's no shying away from that, because one cannot dispute the fact that they are scummy, so I take everything they say and do with a whole ass salt shaker. However, I want to at least give them a chance to do this game justice. So we're gonna hold off on Dead Space Classic, I'll do a formal review after the remake releases. Instead, we're gonna start with Dead Space 2, which is, in my opinion, the best in the trilogy. See, Dead Space is one of my favorite fucking titles ever, and I want to experience that first game in its best form, and if that means waiting on a remake that re-emphasizes the psychological horror aspect that EA decided was fuck all for a fit in the third installment, which is one of the reasons that it failed, for the record, then I'm gonna wait on the remake. Either way, if they fuck this up, they're getting carpet bombed. Before I dive headfirst into this masterpiece of a nightmare, I need some ground rules. First, no New Game Plus. This is a fresh playthrough, none of that New Game Plus bullshit where I have all my weapons in my fancy suit. It ruins the experience, and I want this review and this playthrough to be as authentic as I can get it. Second, I'm playing on Zealot difficulty. I'm not playing on hardcore because fuck hardcore, and fuck you if you think I'm bitching out by not playing on hardcore. I don't want that kind of frustration. And while I'm sure there's plenty of socially awkward speedrunning savants who can play the game on hardcore with their dick stapled to their kneecap and still beat it in 6 minutes without taking a lick of damage, I am not one of those people. And last but not least, no special weapons without schematics. I'm not purchasing or using any of the unlockable weapons from the kiosk until I would normally acquire them over the course of a single playthrough. With little to no exceptions, I want this to be as true to my first playthrough as I can physically get it. Okay, so maybe I'll take the fancy plasma cutter. Isolation is a topic that I think everybody is familiar with, at least to some degree. It's a theme that carries over from the first game, albeit significantly more refined this time around. That feeling, that sense of unease, that tension, which is essential to the atmosphere that the game is trying to immerse you in, is at its apex when you're playing on Zealot or Hardcore. And god damn it. Now, you were in the last episode. You can get the fuck out. I play horror games for the thrill of it. I need that fucking adrenaline rush. I'm not here to whip my dick out and have a good time. I'm here to sweat. I'm here to sidestep to the left and to the right. I'm here to cut zombies apart at 90-degree angles until everything in front of me looks like diced tomatoes. I'm here to survive. Speaking of surviving...
You're right, Isaac. The Ishimura is a great ship. I am so lucky to be serving aboard her.
Yes. Lucky. 3 years have passed since the Ishimura incident, and you'll come to understand more and more as you progress further and further into Dead Space 2 that Isaac's head is still just as irreparably fucked as it was when he came in contact with the marker in the first game. Just so we're all on the same page here, this is literally a story about a fucking nerd who chased pussy halfway across the galaxy, witnessed his friends literally get torn apart in front of him, and survived an alien zombie outbreak. Also, we could watch that set of cheeks he used to clap commit honorable Sudoku via hologram before tentacle porn shows up and tries to tear him in half. If that's not the epitome of a bad day, I don't know what is. The fact that this man didn't chug a bottle of bleach as soon as he got home is incredible. The fact that he has not snapped and shot up half the block yet is incredible. Of course, it wouldn't be a Dead Space game if Nicole didn't show up at least once, and Tanya Clark's performance in this game is fucking fantastic. God damn, does she just give me the fucking heebie-jeebies.
It made you see things, didn't it? Things you didn't want to see.
It spoke to me.
What did it say, Isaac?
I think Visceral could see into my nightmares, either that or my search history, one or the other. I can't tell if I'm terrified or turned on. Fast forward X amount of time, and Isaac wakes up from what seems to be a coma of sorts, strapped into a fucking straitjacket. As with any horror story, the black guy always dies first, and then the guy who was interviewing Isaac in the opening scene cuts you out of said straitjacket with a fucking scalpel before he slits his own goddamn throat. Jesus, fuck, that was awesome. And boy, oh boy, the way you get that plasma cutter, oh my god.
Calm down.
Jesus, man.
I'll cut you out of there.
Help me.
Is that a tissue
fucking
laser?
help me.
A plasma cutter?
Oh my god!
Fuck.
What the fuck are you doing?
Shit.
Help!
I'm trying. I'm trying.
God, this is incredible. This is where the combat reintroduces itself to you. Plasma Cutter is a fine weapon, relevant throughout the entire game too, and quite possibly one of the most unique weapons ever conceived in a video game. Fire horizontally or vertically. How you dismember your enemy is up to you. If you ask me, best way to go about it is to pop the legs off and then go for the arms. Unless you're using a special weapon and you are 100% guaranteed to one-shot whatever you're attacking, like with a fully upgraded Seeker rifle, you never want to aim for the head. They'll just get right back up and tear you to bits. Early game, it'll take about 4 plasma cells at most, 3 if you're a good shot. Once the black armored necromorph starts showing up late game, it'll take a lot more than that. But for right now, it'll be 3 or 4 shots depending on what limb you're hitting and where you hit it. The kinesis module is an absolute necessity for combat and survival, so if you're not using it, then you may as well just build your own coffin and climb in, because you're almost guaranteed to run out of ammo. It's a fantastic trick for saving resources, and it's something you definitely want to lean on in the beginning of the game as you stockpile bits of ammunition here and there in your personal stash. You'll eventually meet up with Strauss, played by Kurt Cornelius, who gets progressively more and more batshit as the game goes on. Right now, he seems a bit like a normal guy, just kind of in panic mode, but
Strauss, it's me! See her!
yeah, he's a fucking nutcase. It's important to note that from the moment the opening cutscene begins to the moment you see the end credits, this game maintains its form. There's not a single second where this masterpiece lightens up on you or it loosens its grip. That kind of atmosphere and world building is crucial to immersion. Advanced shadow mapping and static light sources, post-processing effects, and then there are other things like light diffusion and bloom combined with incredible sound design. Things like monsters crawling through the vents, the light scraping of claws on metal only meters away from you, the faint echoing screams of people being ripped apart and turned into monsters themselves as Titan Station falls apart around you from the collateral damage. There's a section real early on in the game that showcases exactly what it is that I'm talking about. It is too fucking good. This is unnervingly tense and frankly a little disturbing too, both of which are absolutely imperative to the horror environment. All of this together creates this feeling that I can't quite describe, not with a single word at least. The sound design creates the illusion of being surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people, but at the same time, the atmosphere enforces that feeling of isolation and claustrophobia. It's blended together in such a masterful way that for a brief moment they can trick the player into thinking that they're doing more than just driving a mesh model that occupies 3D space. Subconsciously, people and events begin begin to feel real, and that you, the player, are actually there, experiencing all of it. Your hands start to sweat a little, you become hyper-focused. Your senses are in tune with the world that Visceral has placed you in. Taking a line straight out of AVGN's book, these are classic symptoms of video game fever. There is so much to say about the experience that this game offers and the sheer fucking majesty of it that if I kept yammering on about it, this video would last for hours. So let's suit the fuck up and get this game rolling. Oh, he's doing the thing, he's doing the thing, he's stepping out of the thing! Oh, Jesus, yes. Ah, yes, sir, dust those shoulders off. Oh, God. Through and through, Dead Space 2 is an immaculate product with almost no issues. Almost. My only real gripe is that I've never been a big fan of being on a leash. You can take that however you want to, but what I mean is that I don't like being led to a predetermined location by the nose.
This won't be the most pleasant route, but it'll get you to the Cassini Towers residential sector. Not if you follow my route.
I told you to hurry. How'd you miss it?
What begins as a simple get out of the hospital turns into a 6-chapter traversal of half the station. I don't want to follow your route, I want to explore, because it always ends the same with you. Guess what, Dana? Your fucking route didn't work. Luckily, it's only about a fourth of the game, and said fourth is still just as pristine as the other 3/4 of it. The first boss, known as the Tripod Male, is actually really cool. It's easy, but it's really... God damn it. The first boss, known as the Tripod Male, is actually really cool. Easy, but really cool. There's at least 4 or 5 different crates in the arena that almost always drop plasma energy this early in the game, so if you run out of ammunition, that's kind of on you. God, the monster design in this game is incredible. I remember the first time I ever played through this part. I just kept getting my shit pushed in over and over again. One of the many selling points with Dead Space, and one of the reasons that I believe it's just masterfully built and designed, is that the experience is almost unchanged from platform to platform. It was never really hard, if you will. It's just that aiming with an analog stick instead of a mouse was a little awkward for me. Playing it again now, I see that indeed I was just fucking trash at the game. What a fucking surprise, right? Everything about this game just brings me unbridled joy. I can't describe it. So here we are in the Titan Station apartments. I have absolutely no fucking idea what's happening right now. And then there's this. Oh, no, you're not coming back from that. No, no, no. The apartments are easy. There's only one real major scripted fight where you get jumped by a bunch of necros, but it's nothing a good old plasma cutter can't handle. Best decision here is to loot as many of the apartments as you can. There's a bunch of them that are open, and most of them have at least a med pack or something, so you should always be on the prowl for more resources. Huh. This door's locked. Alright, whatever. Guess I just forgot something. What the fuck? What was that? What was that? I can hear it, I just don't know where it is. What the fuck? Yeah, you think you got me now, motherfucker, huh? Show on my plasma! What? We need to talk about these decrepit fuck heaps. They're called exploders. They are my absolute least favorite necromorph, because they got a blast radius of a fucking Scud missile. They usually show up in 2s and 3s. 9 times out of 10, they are support necros. Suicide units, if you will. Ones that can be just as much of a disadvantage to you as they can be a weapon. Shooting the sack will make them explode, and the blast will fuck anything in the radius, including you. They hobble around on their one good leg like a pirate captain, and while there's no yo-ho, they are coming for that booty. They'll bonk you in the gourd with their infected sack leg thing, and then it blows you to bits. It doesn't matter how much health you have, it'll almost always kill you. If there's an exploder within 10 meters from you, it is already too close and it might be too late. Later on in the game, you'll get the force gun, which stuns them and pushes them back a little bit without detonating the sack, giving you about 4 seconds to either accept your fate or get the fuck out of the blast zone. Also, did I mention that these things sound a lot like the Sand People from the Star Wars Family Guy episodes? You're welcome. Approaching the tram station, Isaac has his first what the fuck hallucination. I love that these scenes are presented through gameplay and not through cutscenes. The fact that this game is a constant single shot with no load screens from beginning to end really makes the experience that much more of an immersive horror gem. It's cinematic, and it really adds a lot to the overall presentation of the game. Too many games utilize black screens and cutscenes to load previous assets out and load new assets in, but Visceral doesn't fuck around like that. You're also in for some hellish set pieces. Just be aware that I'm gonna be sucking the ghost of this game's dick for the entire video, so expect to see more clips of set pieces as I encounter them. Kinda like this, train ride, quote-unquote. It's scripted sequences like this that make Dead Space that much more of a fucking banger, because they're all fucking awesome. This is a perfect example of tension. Oh god. Okay, I can handle one. That's not an issue. Wouldn't it just be a dick move on Visceral's part if more of these pricks started to spawn in? Oh god. Okay, I see what you're playing at, game. Okay, game, you can stop at any given moment now. Holy fuck! Jesus Christ, they're literally everywhere. Oh, no. Oh, come on. I never get hit here. Fuck. Okay, I'm thinking we might be done. Oh, shit. Oh, holy fuck. Oh, my God. That was close. Holy shit. Jesus, fuck. Remember how I said earlier that Isaac is the unluckiest man that's ever lived? This is a prime example. It could literally be raining pussy and this man would get hit in the head with a fucking dick. Or a suitcase. Of course, that's hardly even the worst shit he's gonna experience before the day is over. I don't know if he clubbed baby seals in a previous life or whatever, but the universe just hates this guy, and karma is out to make him its bitch. Next up is waste disposal. First we gotta go through the Church of Unitology though, but not before narrowly avoiding a fucking decompression. The game is literally begging you to shoot the glass at this point. Exploders, swarms, and slashers? Yeah, fuck you. Believe me, a decomp is inevitable. What, you think I'm gonna do a Dead Space video without getting sucked into space and getting pinched apart? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna stray off topic just for a second, mostly because I think this is really, really cool. Dead Space was one of the first games I remember playing as a kid to really lean on the environmental storytelling and world building. For whatever reason, this scene specifically stands out in my memory so vividly. Check it out.
Okay. Whoever sees this, listen up. You can use kinesis to pull blades off dead ones and shoot it back at them. Watch. Watch. Stayed alive 3 hours using this trick. You see? Just shoot it back at them. I'm gonna bleed out soon. I got clipped pretty bad earlier. So let's help you out. Whoever you are.
Taking a step back to talk about the immersion aspect one more time, this is yet another reason that I genuinely believe this game is pure gold. Not only is the game trying to teach you a little survival trick, but it's also trying to tell you a story without intruding on gameplay. No cutscenes, no loading screens. At any given point, you could walk away and keep going with what you were doing as if you never even saw it. When you give the player an option to stick around and sit through a scene, they're significantly more inclined to do so as opposed to when you demand it. Not only is this masterful storytelling, but it's also one of a million other small yet memorable things that heighten player immersion, and it makes the world feel that much more real. Back on topic though, waste disposal showcases one of my favorite aspects of this game: 360 degrees of movement in 0G. Compared to the original game where all you could do was just jump from one side of a ruin to another, which was often more of a fucking annoyance than anything else, Isaac can move freely in 0G. And it's implemented extremely well, so much so that there's no difference between movement and control during combat, regardless of whether or not you're in a 0G environment. One of the biggest issues with horror titles is that they tend to shoehorn new mechanics into the game haphazardly in a manner that comes off feeling unfinished or dysfunctional. Whether by accident or by technological limitation, an example of this would be something like Resident Evil. As I mentioned earlier, the game was a technical marvel for its time, one that created a new genre with its release, too. The controls, however, were a relic of their time and were constrained by the hardware of that era. And that's nobody's fault either, but it was kind of the best they had at that point. They worked, sure, but they were not user-friendly. They call them tank controls for a reason, because they're awkward as fuck and they're hard to handle. On the flip side, though, this handles so well, I actually feel like I need a small clip just to showcase how great it works. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Never before this and never after this would I play a game that captured what I imagine it feels like to be in an EVA suit, going about day-to-day activities, just working in space, living and existing as if this type of activity is completely normal. This is fucking fantastic. Making horror games with shitty controls does not increase the horror effect, it just creates fucking problems. The fact that gameplay in Dead Space 2 can go from ground level to 0G with no change in handling and control is something worth mentioning. Huh. You know, it's kind of cold down here. And quiet. Eerily quiet. Honestly, it's a nice little reprieve. No noisy scratching on the wall. honestly, it's a nice little reprieve. Just a bunch of screaming dead bodies. I can deal with that. I remember the Morgue so vividly, mostly because this is where the pre-release gameplay demo took place. There was never really anything special about it other than just that. I mean, the fact that you're surrounded by hundreds of dead bodies in cryostasis all waiting to be turned into necromorphs is kind of fucking spooky, but whatever, that's what a plasma cutter's for, right? Frozen bodies don't mean shit to me. Hey, didn't Walt Disney have his body frozen or some shit? I could probably make a joke about that, right? I think I know what it is. It was the quiet itself, because it brought with it this incredible sense of paranoia, not really knowing whether or not any of these cryopods could explode and throw a slasher at you, or a puker, or anything, really. Visceral was wise not to abuse the jump scare in the Morgue, mostly because players would have become desensitized to it a little too fast and the effect would have been completely lost. Plus, nothing's really scary when you got a fucking fully automatic rifle. It doesn't dismember for shit, but God, it's awesome. After the Morgue, you end up in the last place that I, of all people, need to be. A fucking church. Jesus Christ. Or the lack thereof, whatever. I do not want to make a donation to your untaxable religious institution, you fucking fuck! Jesus Christ, man. Fucking Bible beaters. They just don't know when to quit. Why is it so difficult for some people to take no for an answer? Oh yeah, I forgot about these screeching bags of shit. They're called the Swarms, and they are the single most annoying enemy in this game because all they do is fucking scream. True to their name, that's exactly what they do. They swarm you. They also have one of the coolest kill animations in the game, but I haven't seen that in years. I never let them live that long. 2 rounds from the pulse rifle is enough, but they're extremely weak, and they travel in packs to compensate. The only time they're ever really difficult to deal with is when you don't know that they're there. And I know what you're thinking, it's impossible to not know that they're on the prowl because all they do is screech and yell, but they're annoyingly common in vacuum environments, where there's no sound. God, I fucking hate these things. Also, it's time for a spoiler warning. So you finally make it to Dana, and what do you know? She's a fucking unitologist. If you expected a cure or some sort of happy ending, joke's on you. Turns out, you and Strauss built a marker here on the Sprawl, so in a sense, you're directly responsible for the events happening here on Titan Station. She also comes off as abnormally flirtatious for this type of scenario. I mean, look at this shit.
We need that precious little head of yours just the way it is.
I know she's a fanatical jockstrap and she's clearly fucking insane, but I can't tell if she wants to use his brain to annihilate the entire galaxy or if she just wants to jam her whole fist up his and smash his cubes like grapes. I mean, for all we know, Isaac could be into that shit. It's 2511. Hashtag stop kink shaming. On the real though, Isaac building this marker here on the Sprawl is an important narrative arc, but I got bigger problems right now. First, I gotta deal with this gunship, and then... This is fucking awesome. I'm telling you, this man was a genocidal maniac in a previous life. I think this might be my favorite scripted piece in the game. I mean, look at this. Now that is how you conclude a narrative point.